We'll talk about a flurry of moves, and as a result, a lot to get to on this Monday. And of course, it's a short week. Week 16 of the NFL regular season wraps up tonight. And for the Ravens, it's a very, very short and condensed week with the Houston Texans looming. And tell you what, the Texans are going to be a major theme over the course of the next hour or so, because not only has there been some roster shuffling between these two teams, and what I mean by them is Baltimore and Houston, upcoming opponents of one another, but their head coach, DeMeco Ryans, I thought, silenced whatever critics, whoever is out there that's doubting Lamar Jackson's MVP candidacy. So all that and more is what I have coming up, including Zach Orr's defense by the numbers. Lots to discuss. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. You can learn more about them when I tell you about them in just a few short minutes, or you can click on the link that's in the show notes. It's also a pinned comment in the live chat. Thank you guys for being here. As always, like the video on your way in if you would. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. So you probably have seen this graphic floating around by now, and my co-host spent quite a long time putting it together, and she crushed it. Sarah has the numbers side by side through 16 weeks for Josh Allen, who is the betting favorite to win NFL MVP for the 24-25 season, and of course, Lamar Jackson, who has the second best odds pretty much universally as you look around the sports books. Total yards, Josh has 4,063. Lamar has 4,552. He's accounted for 40 touchdowns total, both through the air and on the ground, has Lamar. 37 for Josh. Just 4 picks for Lamar to Josh's 6. A completion percentage of 67.9 for Lamar, 63.8 for Josh. A historic passer rating for Lamar, 120.6, which is up there among the best ever for single season passer ratings. Josh's 101.2. And of course, we know the records right now. The Ravens are still very much in play to take the AFC North, and Buffalo still an outside shot of getting after that top overall seed, but likely going to be the second overall seed in the AFC playoff picture. Neither one of these guys is a slouch, clearly. And unfortunately, most valuable player, I think, has become very narrative driven, very political. And that's unfortunate, because this should be an objectively driven award, right? Where you're looking at the full body of work. You're looking at so many different factors, and it's just turned into this dare I say, popularity contest. Anybody who declares the race over for a 17-game, 18-week season timeline award after 15 weeks, and that person, or plural, those people, are voters, it's hard not to feel like they shouldn't be worthy of that vote. I mean, that compromises a voter's integrity. And so I think when you look at not only what Lamar has put forth statistically, but what his sheer presence alone has meant for those around him, I think it even more so boosts his candidacy. Derrick Henry is having a resurgent season. Over 1,800 yards and 15 touchdowns. He's the number 2 rusher in the league, and he'll turn 31 next month. Mark Andrews, so many wrote this guy off a couple months back after a very serious, nearly fatal car accident in the summer. He has rallied, and after that slow start, he scored 9 touchdowns in the last 10 games. Are the receiving yards where they typically are? No. But number 89, make no mistake about it, he is having a tremendously valuable season for this team. Rashad Bateman, a career year in year 4. 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games, over 600 yards receiving. Hopefully he's healthy with that foot. He is a vertical threat for them. Yes, he probably shouldn't have stopped on that route, and Lamar would have one less interception if that were the case. But these two have shown a chemistry that's compelling. Zay Flowers, probably Pro Bowl bound in year 2, which is historic for homegrown Ravens wide receivers. Zay's hit the 1,000-yard receiving mark. And he, too, is a vertical threat and shows the yak unrelenting ability to put his head down and run over you, through you, not around you. And as Spenny summarizes, too, Lamar and the Ravens offense are a buzzsaw, and Todd Monken deserves a ton of credit because he's the architect. I guess technically Eric DeCosta is the architect, and Todd's the play caller. But however you want to call it, this is an offense that is peaking at the right time. This is a team that's peaking at the right time. And you want more Lamar stats? How about this? The clean game that he's been playing week in and week out. 1.5%, 1.5% turnover-worthy play rate this season, according to PFF. That is the lowest among all quarterbacks. And again, those 4 picks, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of them, a couple of them have been drops. The other one was a ridiculous play by Peyton Wilson in the first time Steelers and Ravens matched up in Pittsburgh on week 11. And then, of course, the fourth was just this past weekend with Rashad Bateman's miscommunication on the route. So he has played clean football. He has played admirable football. And for that and much more, he's got the opposing head coach speaking very, very highly of him, as DeMeco Ryans did already a couple times this week in preparation.
He's playing some of the best football he's played. Like, he's definitely jumps off the tape as the best player I've seen this year. You talk about MVP. He's definitely the MVP in my mind, just for what he's doing, not only run game wise, but throwing the football, the accuracy, the decision making. Like, he's playing unbelievable ball right now. So it's going to be a really tough challenge for us this week. Last year, I don't think it has a lot to do with this year. With them adding Derrick Henry, I think their offense has changed significantly with Derrick and what they're able to do. I think they're able to run the football even better. Now having Derrick, he's having an outstanding year. And when it comes to Lamar, what jumps off the tape to me is just, how accurate he is with the football. Now throwing the football, hitting the tight ends. He has a lot of weapons. And he's distributing the football very well, making really good decisions with the football. And they're an explosive unit. Top to bottom, you got to handle the run game, and now also Lamar and his threat to run the ball, also throwing the ball. He's an unbelievable talent. Definitely a guy who's in consideration for the MVP. He jumps off the tape as one of the best players in our league.
One of the young up-and-coming head coaches in DeMeco Ryans, who has quickly turned around the Houston Texans, and of course C.J. Stroud. Even though it's been a sophomore slumping season, clearly he looks to be one of the NFL futures when it comes to the quarterback position. But DeMeco silencing the MVP critics out there who do not believe that Lamar is worthy of being in the conversation as a front runner alongside or maybe even above Josh Allen. DeMeco said, quote, definitely jumps off the tape as the best player I've seen this year. Talk about MVP. He's definitely the MVP in my mind. That from Houston Texans head coach, who the Ravens, of course, will see on Wednesday, Christmas afternoon into the evening. It's a 4:30 kick. Speaking very, very matter-of-factly about Lamar Jackson. His teammate Mark Andrews did very similarly earlier today on the Pat McAfee Show.
Yeah, he's playing better than ever. You're spot on. And the thing about Lamar is he's found a way each and every year to elevate his game. And he already came into the league and he was incredible. But every year he's found something different. And I think the game is just so slow for him right now. He's making his checks. He's making the right reads, and he's putting the ball right in the money. And he's always done that, but I think even more so this year, being the second year in this offense and really taking control. The way his brain's working, it's on another level. It's so fun to be able to play with him and just support that guy.
Always great to see Mark Andrews in the national spotlight. Again, Pat McAfee and his crew had number 89 on their airwaves earlier today. And look, guys, I think this is becoming crystal clear. If Lamar is to have a classic Lamar performance on Christmas night in a standalone type of opportunity, much like he had a year ago in San Francisco, I think that's what it's going to take to sway popular opinion, to sway enough of the voters' minds. Josh is coming off a rough performance against the Patriots. Rookie Drake May, I would say, outplayed him. And if Lamar is to go out on Christmas afternoon and not only beat the Houston Texans, but do so in electric Lamar fashion, I think that's what it's going to take. Now, obviously, this is a short and condensed week. It's one that I'm sure is wreaking havoc in all of those locker rooms and all of those schedules that go into, especially when you have a flight. This is an away trip in Houston. And so you think Lamar's talking to himself about the MVP conversation or having conversations even thinking about MVP? I'm sure it comes across his mind, but he's prepping for the Houston Texans. That didn't stop reporters, though, earlier today from asking him about this entire national dialogue.
If it do happen, it happens. That'd be dope 3 times. But like you said it, I'm not really focused on that. That's never been my goal, though. Like even the first, the second one, and it's never been my goal. I always want to finish with the championship. But I've been falling short. But got that accolade. But I still feel like the MVP is a team thing, though, because my teammates helping me get that award. Because I always say this, I'm not the one catching the passes, blocking, to help me get these passes off, stuff like that. That's offensive line, tight ends, receivers, running backs. It's everybody, all of us included. But I'm trying to win the championship, man. That's my biggest goal. That's been my goal ever since a little kid. But an MVP in the National Football League, that's dope. That's dope.
Caught up in because everyone's talking about you, Josh Allen. Going back. Do you hear that? I know you try to kind of insulate yourself.
I got no other choice but to hear it. I don't mean to cut you off, but like they tag me in it. Like, like you don't gotta tag me. You can talk about all you want, but you want to tag me to get like clickbait because sometimes I'm gonna say something back like that was stupid. But it is what it is, man. I don't care though. I really don't care about the talk, the combos. I'm trying to win.
Lamar, as always, just trying to win. By the way, he also did mention that he plans on watching the halftime show Christmas Day, which is going to be performed by Beyonce in Houston. So pulling an Evan McPherson, I guess, a couple years ago? I can't remember when that was. Was it during the playoffs or I want to say it was maybe a playoff game? Bengals kicker Evan McPherson and Zach Taylor and company were not exactly fans of his decision to peek his head out of the concourse and watch whoever was performing at halftime. Was it Eminem? I can't even remember who it was, but we'll see if John Harbaugh grants him privilege to do so. But clearly, he's got his eyes on the prize, and that is everything to do with the Houston Texans, who just lost their star wide receiver, Tank Dell, to a very serious knee injury. And again, as a result, have been very active today with roster moves, as have the Ravens. So we'll get to that in just a bit. LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy on what's the name of their the facility is their new show, right? With Emmanuel Acho and James Jones and Chase Daniel and Shady. I thought he had some interesting things to say about what he's seen from Lamar, which again, I think it furthers and strengthens this whole conversation, which is why is there a universal gap nationally, or according to the sports books, between Josh and Lamar when it comes to their MVP candidacy? This is a lot closer than a lot of folks are leading on. And again, to have declared it over, as some did after 15 weeks, is premature and honestly reckless, especially when you have the privilege of voting in this candidacy, in this race. Here's Shady.
Because Lamar Jackson is so special. I don't think we even know how special he really is. Even all the old MVPs he ain't look like this.
Ever.
And to answer the question, what's it prove with Lamar Jackson, the way he's playing right now? He's playing that. He's proven that he's changing the narrative. Because even before this year, even with the MVPs, it's still, well, he can run really well. He's having issues still with passing. You all hear the little whispers, right? Now it's none of that. He's throwing the ball. He's running the ball. Everything's at elite level. He has career highs with everything. Career high, 3,700 yards passing. Career high, 37 passing touchdowns. Career high, 67.9 completion percentage.
That's a big one, too.
Career high with passing rating, 120 passing rating.
Almost in
History.
ever.
And he beat some top teams. The freaking Bills, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Bengals twice. Lamar is here to stay. And I think the best thing is that we're not going to talk about, but I am today, is that any young kid growing up in the hood that their game can't translate as far as you want to, this style of play is you want to run first before passing, you can always get better. Yeah. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, look at Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yo, I remember watching him in high school with tapes. He was on the same thing. Yeah. This can't translate to the NFL. Go to Louisville. Kind of the same way. Yeah. Okay. Are we going to draft him in the first round? Okay, he's going to be a running back. He should be a wide receiver. Now you see him? Yeah. Look like the best quarterback in football. So, yes, Lamar Jackson's the real deal.
Shady McCoy standing 10 toes down for Lamar's MVP candidacy while not actually referring to it specifically, just speaking to his greatness. So now you hear it, right? You've heard several different, whether it's a former player in LaShawn McCoy, a current player, and a teammate who's probably a little bit biased in Mark Andrews. The opponent in Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans, and so on and so forth, as everyone wants a piece of the pie here and weighs in nationally, regionally, all the way down to locally, that Lamar is starting to gain steam here around the league when it comes to the questioning as to why there is this perceived gap between he and Josh for front runner status through 16 weeks of this NFL MVP race. Make no mistake, it really does seem as if Lamar will now have an opportunity, much like he did a year ago, to win this award on Christmas night, to take another step forward to a division title. Going to need a little bit of help from Kansas City, by the way, who travels to Pittsburgh also for a Christmas Day game. That's the 1 o'clock game prior to the 4:30 one in Houston between the Texans and the Ravens. And look, as we always make sure to reiterate, just because these guys are getting pinned up against one another within this debate nationally does not mean that we have to do that. I find Josh Allen to be one of the most likable, one of the most gifted, and one of the most talented quarterbacks of his generation. He does have a better, more successful, consistent, and bigger sample size in the postseason than Lamar, but the rest of his resume is not in the same playing field as Lamar Jackson's. These two are both having tremendous years. It should be about the here and now. And I get it. Josh lost a lot of talent. When Stephon Diggs was traded, when Gabe Davis walked out the door in free agency, when Matt Milano went down, their stud linebacker, lost a couple key pieces in their secondary. And I know they went in and acquired Amari Cooper prior to the deadline last month. He hasn't proven to be too much of a needle mover just yet. But one thing that I really can't stand, and to me this is the inconsistent nature with which Lamar is covered along the lines of evaluating his MVP candidacy, is the fact that in some folks' minds, like a Rex Ryan earlier today, like a Logan Ryan, the former NFL corner who was with the Patriots, I can't stand when the idea of Derrick Henry's presence takes away from Lamar's value. Derrick, in part, is having a historic season because of Lamar's presence, because of the compliment that those two are together as a duo. So when you hear stuff like Rex Ryan earlier this morning on Get Up say stuff like this, I can't follow him.
Everybody was like, hey, this is Josh Allen's MVP race. But Lamar, 3 touchdown passes. Do you think he's closed the gap here? Are we looking neck and neck? What do you think?
No, I think it's Josh Allen. I don't even think it's close. But look, Derrick Henry, that motion or whatever, drifting it over, that's fine. That Haas in the backfield makes a difference right there. 162 yards against supposed to be a really good run defense and all that. Well, I mean, that's another reason why Lamar's numbers, and I get it, they're outstanding and things like that. But here's some numbers that people forget. They've had 417 more rushing yards to running backs than Josh Allen has. Like, this is a guy that does it. Without Josh Allen, this team wins 2 or 3 games for the Bills. Lamar Jackson, you can still hand it to a Hall of Fame running back. So to me, I think that's the reason. Lamar's had a spectacular, year.
Yes, he does.
I love Lamar.
Every year.
But absolutely. But Josh Allen, like, no way, man. Give me Josh Allen.
See, I don't find that fair because it's not a two-way street. He is discrediting, in a sense, Lamar because of Derek's presence. But then you often hear it doesn't go vice versa. Like Derek's not discredited because of Lamar's presence. It's just, we're taking away from Lamar's overall value because of Derek. They're a complement together. And Lamar has proven that year in and year out, he is MVP worthy when healthy, with or without a Hall of Fame running back in his backfield. And honestly, with or without an actual star-studded wide receiver room. Go back to 2019. We all remember what that wide receiver room consisted of. So that, to me, is where they lose me. Why is Derek's presence taking away from Lamar's value? That's not a fair way of putting this together. And in that logic, if that were the case, why do they have 5 losses this year compared to only a handful last year without Derrick Henry? If Derek is so valuable to this team when it comes to evaluating Lamar's value and his impact, then why were they better record-wise a year ago? That logic doesn't check out. Love Rex. Lost him on that take. I appreciate you guys for being with me here tonight. Over 1,100 of you joining, including over 700 in the YouTube space. Thank you for being here. About to discuss this whole roster shuffling flurry of moves that have taken place within the last hour or so, which has Diontae Johnson heading south. I'll tell you about what that means in just a second. Tonight's episode is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. They have been with me for over 12 months, about 14 months to be exact. Tremendous sponsor and supporter of mine. And they have a message for you. You can turn your tax refund into a new home. Primary Residential Mortgage has a wide variety of loans which require little to no down payment. Your tax refund could cover it all. You could use it to cover closing costs. You could pay down existing debt that perhaps is out there. You could pay for upgrades to your existing home to increase the value of it. And on top of that, as I've told you about recent weeks, Primary Residential Mortgage is going to cover your closing costs up to $750 on applications that are submitted by February 9th of 2025. This is an exclusive offer for Bobby Baltimore subscribers. One of you actually just recently took advantage of it. Not sure who that is, but I was just briefed from my PR and my team just last week that one of my subscribers took advantage of this just within the last week or so. So that's fantastic. They are already on their way to a new home. So don't miss out. People are actively taking advantage of this incentive, and I hope you consider doing so as well. You can apply through the PRMI Mid-Atlantic website. Just mention my name as you go throughout your application process and make sure you can get all that divvied up and redeem that awesome offer. Link in the show notes. Also a pinned comment in the live chat. And a special thank you to Primary Residential Mortgage for their continued support of what I'm building here inside the channel. A couple super chats have come in since I've begun the show. Draydog679 wants to talk about colognes. Of course, Lamar's was taste tested, or whatever the equivalent is, reviewed, I should say. You don't want to taste that, I don't think. By Sarah earlier today at the close of our Ravens lunch hour live stream over on the Vault. And Dre mentioned some good fall colognes, and you already know I don't know how to pronounce any one of these, honestly. Victor and Rolf Spice Bomb, Burberry Hero. The other ones I have absolutely no clue what you're saying, Dre. I do wear cologne, but I don't love it enough, or am I not in tune with it enough to even like be able to rattle off the couple that I own. What we'll do is maybe when we give away, because Sarah doesn't like it, Lamar's special cologne. So we're going to do a giveaway at some point within the next week. And maybe the day that we do that, I'll make sure that off to the side are my cologne bottles. And then you can help me rate them and figure out what the hell I have. Appreciate you, Dre. The Broskis 420 says, I don't understand how it's over when Josh Allen just had his third bad game this year. Baltimore, Houston, and the 3-11 New England Patriots. He went 16 for 29, 158 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception, while Lamar went 15 of 23, 207 through the air, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Yeah, and he did get outplayed, by the way. Did Josh Allen up against the rookie, Drake May, as I referenced earlier on. So, yeah, I don't know how it's over either. He's going to have to see that Patriot team again, who made it interesting into the third quarter. And really, the final score indicated that it was interesting the entire time, but the Bills had pretty good control throughout the second half. But they're going to have to see that team again, and they're going to have to see Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, who I know both those teams are just playing for pride at this point. But hey, they could play spoiler alert as well if Buffalo's not careful. So something to look out for. I appreciate you both for the super chats, and I appreciate all 1,100 of you joining me concurrently right now here inside the channel. It is week 17, or I guess technically it will be starting tomorrow. It's also Christmas Eve. Some programming notes for you. Sarah and I will be live at 12 noon tomorrow for Christmas Eve. I'll probably sneak in another one in the late afternoon, as I always do. And then we will not do a noon show on Christmas Day, just for everyone's calendar purposes. We're going to be live that night, obviously. I'll do a pregame show prior to Ravens-Texans, and then Sarah and I will be live probably in the 8 o'clock hour to celebrate, whatever happens, and hopefully you guys can spend some time with us throughout your Christmas vacation, holidays, and whatnot. So we look forward to that, and I appreciate you guys all being with me on this holiday season. Happy holidays to you and yours. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. You guys are the best. I appreciate the support so much. And we're coming up on 24,000 subscriptions, please. So if you could help me get there, I would really, really appreciate it. Victor Santiago, before we get to the Diontae news, just hit me with another super chat and says, I think the point towards MVP is take each individual QB out. Which team puts up more points? The team that scores more points does not have the MVP. Or maybe, just maybe, this whole narrative driving element is a part of this as well. And because Josh is considered in a tier with the Burrows, with the Lamars, maybe, just maybe, it's an effort by the NFL to kind of like, it's such a political type thing that you just wonder whether it's voter fatigue or a popularity contest. Sometimes the narrative shifts in favor of whoever is at the helm, at the epicenter of this politics driving, on top of the popularity contest, and on top of potentially voter fatigue, and on top of a number of other things that go into this, which feels like it's getting farther and farther away from actually being a football award. That's the bummer about it, right? This is getting to be a political award, and that's the worst. Whenever politics starts to sneak into sports, typically does not work out well. What if I told you that Diontae Johnson has a chance to suit up on Christmas afternoon? Not for the Ravens, potentially for the Houston Texans. It would be an under 48-hour turnaround and perhaps is unlikely. but he has been claimed on waivers by the Houston Texans. And as Adam Schefter first tweeted out, this kind of makes too much sense for Houston given Tank Dell's news and the very, very serious knee injury that he sustained over the weekend. But Diontae Johnson, man, this dude's been a hot potato. In the last calendar year, he's been now with 4 different organizations across the NFL. And this is his 3rd this season alone. He began, of course, in Carolina. The Ravens traded for him prior to the deadline last month, waived him last week, and now the Houston Texans, who are very needy at wide receiver, are taking a chance. And again, they kind of were put in a situation where they had to take a chance because of how desperate they are right now for wide receivers ahead of the postseason. The only issue, you're getting a dude who isn't exactly stable. We all remember December 1st, just over 3 weeks ago, in a pivotal game against the Philadelphia Eagles, when his number was called by the Ravens, he declined the opportunity to play. The ultimate sign of selfishness, a level of entitlement, and ultimately not exactly a team guy kind of action. Dan Orlovsky commented on this news a short while ago on NFL Live.
They've been decimated, to Shefty's point, by the injuries. They need someone relatively reliable opposite Nico Collins, and that was going to be that Tank Dell type of player. And obviously the horrific injury, thoughts and prayers, hopefully he's going to heal up. So it was needed. It's also like maybe a last opportunity for Diontae Johnson. This is a super talented guy that's on his 3rd team this season. It didn't work out in Carolina. He gets traded to Baltimore, a great opportunity for him there, and it doesn't work out there. Now he goes to another playoff football team with an elite quarterback. He's got to take advantage of this. So for him, show up and prove that you are that talented player that also produces. And for Houston, you need it to work out, because for you to have any chance in the playoffs, you're going to have somebody outside of Nico Collins to try and impact and hold the defense.
Ooh, a lot riding on this for the Houston Texans. I mentioned the roster shuffling that's taken place. And again, I just want to reiterate, while there's a chance that Diontae could suit up, you'd have to think that's unlikely, being that he's probably on his way to Houston now. Well, it's the 23rd. We're already, again, under 48 hours to go to kickoff. So unless this is just some insane turnaround and they so desperately need him, maybe, just maybe, you'll see him where apparently he loves being, on the sidelines. We'll see. The other move, Aaron Wilson, NFL reporter, tweeting out a short while ago that Steven Sims Jr., a former undrafted rookie who first signed with the Washington Commanders a few years back, was claimed by the Ravens after being waived by Houston. So some shuffling going on. Diontae Johnson, for obvious reasons, waived by the Ravens. Steven Sims Jr., a punt return specialist and wide receiver, waived by Houston. And then they just traded places. And that's where things stand right now. Cordell Woodland, my guy from 105.7 The Fan here locally in town, is like, hey, he has a special teams background, so he could be brought in to compete as a returner. It was a rough day for Desmond King on Saturday. And of course, Tylan Wallace had struggled prior to Desmond getting the opportunity. Now, I tweeted out over the weekend that the Ravens got to feel pretty unsettled. If there's an area that they probably feel unsettled in, it's that punt returner. Desmond King has shown juice and pop, but he's had a hard time fielding the football. And that's obviously not an area that the Ravens can afford to experiment in as they get ready for a postseason run. Now, does anybody remember what's notable about this edition? You got to go back to the divisional round last year when the Houston Texans and the Ravens matched up in Baltimore. Steven Sims took a punt return to the house. You guys remember that? He took a punt return to the house against the Ravens in the postseason a year ago. So he's got a little bit of juice to him. Maybe, just maybe, the 27-year-old's going to get a shot to compete. He spent 2019 and 20 in Washington, 21 in Buffalo, 21 and 22 in Pittsburgh, and the last couple of years in Houston. 78 career receptions for over 700 receiving yards. He's got over 1,700 return yards and 7 total touchdowns. Steven Sims Jr., perhaps an option for the Ravens as they try to tinker a little bit with where things currently stand. That is the latest. Diontae Johnson's going to Houston. Maybe, just maybe, as Orlovsky alluded to, this is his final shot in the NFL. 4 teams in a calendar year, not exactly the best resume. They say in the professional world outside of sports, if you just hop from job to job and then put that on your LinkedIn and you got a different one every single year, probably not exactly an attractive trait from a resume standpoint. But talk about a flurry of moves just within the last couple hours or so. On top of that, Ravens West got deeper. Just when you think it couldn't get any more deep. That roster continues to add former Ravens. Look who is on the move to join the Los Angeles Chargers. The polarizing Eddie Jackson, a safety who was brought in the latter half of free agency by Baltimore earlier this past offseason. Of course, he was benched. There was clearly something internal that took place between he and the team. They kept it very much under wraps. He clearly was not a good fit in Baltimore. He clearly was not pleased whatsoever with his role. And as a result, the Ravens cut him just a few weeks ago, on top of benching Marcus Williams, who probably will be cut this offseason and will be a big, big cap hit. I should say dead cap money. So Eddie Jackson joining the Chargers practice squad. Jim Harbaugh says, why not? And of course, John Kelly, who spent some time in Baltimore, he was released from the practice squad. Let me tell you, I don't know why they'll take a chance. Maybe this is more so about having practice squad depth. But I find it pretty hilarious that anything that maybe can't get done in Baltimore, you wonder if this is more like a competitive thing between brothers out of spite, right? Like competitive brotherly spite. Don't you think? Like, oh, you weren't able to make it work for him with your squad? Oh, it wasn't a good fit. He didn't like it there. Oh, I'm going to show you he's going to like life out west in LA. He's going to have a role for us. Couldn't you see that being a classic, like, brotherly type of dynamic between Jim and John? Have an incredible amount of love and admiration for one another, but just an absurd level of competition that's just inhumane and an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. Blah, 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 blah. I could totally see that. It's such a classic brotherly Harbaugh dynamic that we've grown accustomed to learning more and more about within that family. Just a ridiculous. Oh, those guys, man. Never cease to amaze. Field Yates just tweeting out a short while ago here as I process this for a second here. Besides the Texans, one other team attempted to claim Diontae Johnson off of waivers, and that was the Chargers. See what I mean? Literally, this tweet just came out a minute ago. Houston had priority over Los Angeles in terms of the list as 2 wide-out needy teams competing in the AFC claimed Johnson. Oh, that's funny how that came out literally as I'm talking about this theory of, like, you know, I'm going to do it better than you did. So the Chargers were going after Diontae Johnson in this waiver wire battle. He ultimately goes to Houston, who's certainly needed every bit of Diontae's services if he's actually willing to give his services. Don't get me going again. You know where we went last time with this. Don't get me going again. Are you willing to actually give your services, Diontae? Or do you think that you're going to come in and be owed something as if you already earned something? That's the message that he sent by quitting on his teammates. His number was called, and he refused to go into the game. In a big-time opportunity, by the way, against the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, what happened since? Oh, just every other opportunity that he totally fumbled, given Rashad's injury, given Nelson Aguilar's concussion. I can't think of another fumble to that extent quite some time. But in the NFL, as we've seen with domestic violence in the past, as we've seen with crime and polarizing figures, the NFL is home to the second chance. And in Diontae's case, apparently it's a fourth chance. Second chance in Carolina, third chance in Baltimore, fourth chance now in Houston. Will he fumble this one? Best of luck. Best of luck. Again, no clue whether or not they're going to trot him out there and if he'll even be ready for a Christmas Day game against his former team. But Diontae Johnson looking like he's going to have an opportunity to play in the postseason for the Houston Texans. Well, let me tell you, All-Pro Marlo, I don't think there's any question. This dude is back, and he's come back with vengeance. Marlon is the number 2 coverage cornerback in the NFL through 16 weeks. He's got 6 picks, which leads all AFC players. A touchdown, which of course was his first pick 6 just this past weekend. A forced fumble. And he is a part of the number 1 defense statistically across the National Football League since week 8. Now, I don't know about Defensive Player of the Year like Jack is getting after here. I love that he's building up his guy. But I'll say this. All-Pro Marlon is absolutely aiding this team right now. Kyle Hamilton's my defensive MVP for reasons that I'll discuss in just a second. But you cannot question or overstate Marlon's value and his game-changing mentality. Sarah and I actually ran the numbers, and we had to jog our memories earlier today. He has helped seal multiple games already this year, including that first game against Cincy, where he picked off Burrow. I'm pretty sure the second time against Cincy was the forced fumble on Chase Brown. Don't quote me on that. I believe that's what we summarized earlier today. And then, of course, we all remember the pick 6 from Saturday on Russell Wilson, where he effectively jumped the route and took it to the house. Kyle's my MVP, but there has been no one on this defensive team who's been more opportunistic and timely than Marlon Humphrey has. Tremendous year for number 44, and congratulations to he and his significant other on the birth of their son just this past week. What a momentous week, I'm sure, for Marlon. But for my money, the MVP is the unicorn, and that is Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens defense now is 4th best across the league since moving Kyle to deep safety. Of course, Darius Washington's been alongside him as well. And these two have really become effective, productive, dynamic running mates. You look at the alignment prior to Kyle taking over on the back end, he was all over the field. And at times you will continue to see him all over the field. But he has settled things down on the back end. He has streamlined communication. He has gotten guys in the right place. There's just a sense of calm. And while we're talking about Kyle, you got to talk about his defensive coordinator. Because the Ravens EPA, in terms of EPA allowed per dropback ranking, Weeks 1 through 9 collectively ranked 28th league-wide. Bottom corridor. Weeks 10 through 16 since, which of course came with a lot of change. Kyle and Ardarius on the back end, benching Marcus, cutting Eddie, demoting Trenton Simpson, getting Big Mike Pierce healthy up front. They have leapfrogged to first, guys, and that sample size is growing as the weeks go on. Zach Orr starting to get some national attention as well from Peter Schrager of NFL Network earlier today.
Great pride in giving out this week's Coach of the Week award to a much maligned defensive coordinator from the first half of the season whose unit has turned it around and is now leading the way. Zach Orr, the 32-year-old defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, is the recipient of the award this week. The Ravens defense made big play after big play against the Pittsburgh Steelers offense on Saturday. In the biggest game of the season, we saw a Marlon Humphrey pick six that completely changed the tenor of this game. And also this play here, Russell Wilson running for the end zone, making a play, and then Washington jars the ball loose. Ravens recover. They get the ball. Look, Zach Orr and that defense has been picked apart by pundits the entire first half of the season. But when it's mattered most, the last few weeks, the Ravens defense has come together. Or give him credit for using Kyle Hamilton in a way that might be unorthodox and getting him to play other roles than he's traditionally done earlier in the season. Zach Orr, I take great pride in it. A 32-year-old ex-player whose career was cut short and has done it the right way and is now the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. You are the Coach of the Week.
Well, how about that? A far cry, as Peter alluded to, a far cry from just a couple months ago. I know a lot of you wanted this dude out on the streets, but maybe, just maybe, the arrival of Dean Pease, the personnel adjustments, and getting his feet from underneath him has allowed him to call the game more freely, to see things more clearly. And Zach Orr and his defense rounding into form at the proper time. All three phases right now, peaking at the correct time if you want to make a deep run. Justin Tucker seems to have emerged from the bye week with a clearer mind, hitting from 51, seeming like he's got a, morale boost in his media sessions. The defense since week 10, week 11, starting to really play sound football on all three levels. And, of course, the offense, the number one ranked offense and the scariest offense in the league, continuing to click on all cylinders. There's a lot to like right now about the Baltimore Ravens. And they very much could be in a position where they control their own destiny. Should they win out and should Kansas City take care of business on Christmas Day in Pittsburgh, you're looking at an opportunity to go back-to-back years where you take the AFC North crown and you enter Wild Card Weekend as one of the hottest, most dangerous teams across the league. There's more congratulations in order that I just saw literally a second ago. Look who just picked up his own free agent acquisition and is no longer a free agent, I suppose, if you will. Tyler Linderbaum proposing to his longtime girlfriend. I believe they both went to Iowa together. Rachel and Tyler. And the caption from Rachel, I get to marry my best friend. Ty, you are the best human, and I am the luckiest girl in the world. Can't wait to do life with you forever. That is awesome. Isaiah likely already liking the post. Let's make sure we drop a like in here. Can I even like it since she's maybe she's got a private account maybe. But anyway, look at Tyler proposing to his longtime girlfriend. Man, is he a class act or what? I love this guy. As rock solid as it gets, so steady, country tough, Iowa pride. Congratulations to Tyler and his fiance, Rachel Tandy. Good stuff there. It's the holiday season. Everybody's got a little bit of joy right now. Manny wants to know when my turn is. I got absolutely no clue. You already know that. Oh my goodness gracious. Are you kidding me right now? Garth West, a.k.a. Charmbirds, just dropped a 200 spot on the channel. Oh, man, I didn't even know that existed. Garth, I'm like taken aback, man. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. your full message is Merry Christmas, flock, and never forget why we celebrate this time of year. And goes on to refer to one of his maybe favorite Bible scriptures. John, 1:1. God bless Bobby and flock. I got to go back and read that specific one. But Garth, wow, I'm absolutely blown away by that donation. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you, man. That's so incredibly generous. And I think it just speaks to the continued sense of community that we have in here, whether it's in the Discord channel, whether it's over on the Vault with Sarah, whether it is, on this channel on a daily basis. You guys are incredible. Running into you out in the Baltimore area. Man, I continue to be really, really privileged and just full of gratitude that the last 2+ years has been spent cultivating this kind of community. And it's come with its set of challenges, no doubt about it. But it was a sacrifice worth making. And I'm so humbled by not only this donation, but the fact that you guys choose to spend part of your daily lives with us, whether it's here with me in solo form or with me and Sarah in, co-hosting form. And it's not lost on us that you bring that kind of commitment to us. So again, I just felt the need to make sure that not only I react to this incredible donation, but also take the time to reflect a little bit this Christmas season, this holiday season. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you. Dre Dog hit me with one as well, another one, and says, in the playoffs, the defense can't keep playing 5 to 7 yards off the ball. The defense will get eaten alive. No doubt. This isn't a super chat, but I kind of love this one earlier. TDG says, Bobby's the blackest white man ever. Absolutely. I'm taking that to the bank, TDG. No question. Give me that. Give me that label. Listen, Zone 16, for those of you that were on the show earlier today with me and Sarah, saying that my cookout invite was in danger, I told him, I said, look, once I'm invited, it's in ink, man. I'm showing up regardless. You can't de-invite me. I'm coming to the cookout, baby. I ain't showing up empty-handed either. A few Ed Reed cigars, perhaps. Bring a couple steaks. Get the fade, get the edge up, ready to roll. You already know I'm showing up. Oh, man. One for the one time there on Garth. Again, shout out Garth, man. Show him some love in the chat for me, guys, because obviously donations go such a long way, towards doing what we do. I mean, not only is it just like a morale boost, but obviously it goes towards this commitment. I mean, it's a commitment to do what we do on a daily basis, and obviously, you guys are our employers. We always view that. I mean, sponsorship and advertising is how we make this work monetarily wise. But make no mistake, Sarah and I rely on you guys, solely based on your interest in us, and we really view you guys as our employers. So I just wanted to say thank you again, Garth, and thanks to all of you for dropping in super chats tonight. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And they keep coming in. 12K Tay says the Texans claim Diontae Johnson and the Ravens follow up and grab Steve Sims Jr. Yeah, we talked about that a few minutes ago. And he refers to EDC as being petty, or maybe, just maybe, this is an opportunity to bring a little bit of competition in for something that has been a little tight right now, a little unsettled, and that is the punt return specialist duties. Tylan Wallace coughed them up to Desmond King, and now Desmond King has been muffing punts. So the question is, does Steven bring legitimate competition? Sure looked good on that punt return in the divisional round last year for the touchdown. I do expect Keaton Mitchell, by the way. A lot of you are asking about Keaton Mitchell, and I would expect him to go. By the way, the injury report for today's practice just came out, so this is perfect. might as well bring this in before we close. Back-to-back days, these injury reports have popped out at the perfect time. 12K Tay, appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for being here. All 1,200 plus of you joining me concurrently. Thank you for being here. Let's take a look on the fly. This is the first time I've seen it. In terms of Monday's injury report, again, ahead of Wednesday's kickoff in Houston. Not a lot of surprises here. Not a lot of differences to what we saw after yesterday's walkthrough. Nelson Aguilar and Justice Hill remain DNPs, which likely means both men remain in concussion protocol. And I would guess on a short and condensed week, their status is probably in jeopardy for Wednesday. Jalen Armour-Davis continues to be dealing with a hamstring. He's a DNP. Bo Braid upgraded from limited to full participant with a shoulder. Daniel Fa'alele with a knee. He's been a DNP so far this week. Could that mean maybe, just maybe, Ben Cleveland, if Daniel can't go, might get a shot? Or will they go with Voorhees at right guard? Time will tell. Zay Flowers with a shoulder. He's been a DNP so far. Tyler Linderbaum upgraded to limited. Should be good to go with that back. I hope he didn't hurt his back getting on one knee. And Tre'Davious White with a shoulder. Not sure why you test or push the veteran on a short week. He's been a DNP so far. And again, just because they've been DNPs Sunday and Monday, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that a guy like Zay won't go on Wednesday. I mean, obviously, this is like an unusual circumstance and a really, really tight and quick turnaround. So I almost don't want to make too much of what we're seeing right now on the screen. But the concussion guys, it's almost like you can write them in ink that they're not going to be good to go, which means you may have to call up Anthony Miller again if Nelly can't go. He was their practice squad wide receiver. Didn't get any kind of time or work, I don't believe, on Saturday. And then as far as the running backs are concerned, you know, Derek obviously will be RB1. And then Rasheen Ali and Keaton Mitchell both will be up. It's just a matter of who's going to receive RB2 snaps. Keaton's been the inactive guy between the two of them when Justice Hill is healthy, and that's solely based on special teams. And, of course, Rasheen getting a shot. He's their 5th round pick out of Marshall. Now, from a Houston perspective, theirs just came out as well. Let's just see what they're dealing with. John Mechie III, who's a wide receiver, he was a full participant, upgraded from limited. Of course, Tank Dell is out indefinitely after that brutal knee injury. DeMeco Autry, defensive end, limited. He looks like he'll be ready to go. Will Anderson Jr., their talented defensive end, upgraded to limited with a hand. And a few other guys like Shaq Mason. He's a guard for them. He's been a DNP, maybe won't be available along their offensive line. They have had some struggles protecting CJ Stroud this year, which has led to part of his sophomore slump. But that is the latest there when it comes to both teams and their respective injury statuses going into Christmas Day in Houston. Lots more chatter continuing in the X space right now on Diontae Johnson. Everybody wants a piece of this, especially within this fan base, having a short memory, as I know a lot of you do as well, when it comes to his antics during his cup of coffee. And indeed, it was a cup of coffee in Baltimore. You can find me on social media, specifically Twitter or X, for daily tweeting related to the Ravens and Baltimore sports by following me at Bobby Baltimore. You can join the Bobby Baltimore Patreon community for as little as $1.99 by visiting the show notes. Connect with me on Instagram for more personal life content at Bobby Baltimore. And if you're interested in donating and you don't want to do so through the YouTube Super Chat feature, Venmo and or Cash App, great ways of doing so. Again, shout out all of you who joined me for this episode. Shout out my Super Chat donors. You guys are the best. Happy holiday season to you. Merry Christmas. I will be back tomorrow, if not before. Please like the video on the way out. Subscribe. We're coming up on 24,000 subscriptions. And hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. And if you would on the way out too, click on that link that's in the live chat. It's a pinned comment, and it brings you right to Primary Residential Mortgage's site, my specific unique URL. That is great for tracking ability with one of my most loyal and trustworthy sponsors. So continue want to say thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for their support, their belief in what I'm building, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Thanks for dropping by.